How to help. Volunteer orientation. What is bone marrow? Bone marrow is the spongy tissue inside bones that produces blood cells, both the red blood cells that carry oxygen and the white blood cells that are the building blocks of your immune system. Your body contains about 5 pounds of bone marrow and it is continuously regenerated. Why are donors needed? Every year, nearly 12,000 Americans are diagnosed with a deadly or debilitating disease such as leukemia or lymphoma. There are currently more than 50 diseases that can be treated or cured with a bone marrow transplant. The healthy cells from a donor are used to replace the diseased cells in a patient. Unfortunately, only about 30% of those in need of transplant can find a well-matched donor within their family. The rest must find an unrelated volunteer donor. Patients in need of bone marrow will search the National Registry of potential donors. A special network helps patients find their perfect match. How do they get the cells? There are 2 methods. The first is bone marrow donation, a surgical procedure completed under anesthesia using a strong needle on the crest of each hip. The second is peripheral blood stem cell donation. The donor is given 5 days of medicine that causes the bones to release the marrow cells into the bloodstream. On the 5th day, an apheresis machine filters the blood taken from the donor's one arm, removes the extra cells, and returns the rest of the blood to a needle in the donor's other arm. In either case, only about 5% of the body's marrow cells are removed and these will regrow. Most donors recover completely within 2 weeks. There are no expenses to you or your command. Our organization takes care of all arrangements and bills. We even arrange permissive TAD, TDY, and most importantly, you have the opportunity to save a life. On the other hand, the donation process takes time, usually about 30 hours spread over several weeks. Donation does involve discomfort. Some donors tell us it's no big deal, others describe it as significant discomfort. You will not be paid for donation. Finally, many of our donors must travel for their physical exam and again for donation. Does joining the registry really matter? The impact of the donor registry cannot be overstated. Every year, thousands of very ill men, women, and children turn to this list as their last and sometimes only hope. Volunteer donors save lives. Our program was brought forth by the late Representative C.W. Bill Young of Florida, who wanted to use the power of the federal government to help individuals with cancer. At that time, there was no coordination between bone marrow registries, so the chance of finding a matching donor was exceedingly low. In 1990, Public Law 101-302 established the C.W. Bill Young Department of Defense Marrow Donor Recruitment and Research Program, which we now call Salute to Life, to exclusively serve the members and affiliates of the Department of Defense. We are a network partner of the National Marrow Donor Program, often called Be the Match, which serves the American civilian population. Our registry is one part of the larger international registry, Bone Marrow Donors Worldwide. Over time, we learned the value of cooperative endeavors, and so instead of just having access to donors recruited through the military, or even nationwide, patients may now select from the global pool of more than 28 million volunteer donors. While our program is cooperative and affiliated with these other programs, it is also a unique service for Department of Defense members. Registrants should be military personnel or their dependents, DoD civilian employees, reservists, or Coast Guard or National Guard members. Registrants must be between the ages of 18 and 60 years old. Registrants should not have autoimmune or bleeding disorders, kidney, liver, or heart disease, or communicable diseases such as HIV or hepatitis B or C. Those who have registered before, even through a civilian registry or long ago, should not register again. This creates double entries in the matching system. If someone is uncertain whether they joined, have them contact our program or the NMDP. It is critically important that registrants understand the commitment they are making. Every person should be prepared to actually donate, to anyone, anywhere. Additionally, registered donors will remain available in the system until they reach age 61 or ask to be removed. If a potential registrant seems uncertain, then educate them. Resources are available on our website, salutetolife.org, or that of Be the Match. Prospective donors can read updates and articles on our Facebook page, or ask questions directly at donors@dodmarrow.org or by calling 1-800-MARROW-3. Educating prospective donors is the hard part. Registration is quick and easy. Every registrant must complete a consent form. We ask for contact information for a friend or family member that does not live with the donor. For example, an aunt or mother instead of a wife, because military personnel have such mobile lives. A social security number is required for the same reason. Not every donor will be able to answer every question. This is okay. But mostly empty forms are usually a sign that the registrant really isn't interested in participating. Missing data is hard on our systems. Counsel the hesitant or uncertain individuals not to join. When you review the consent form, check for signatures on the first and last page, date of birth and social security number, and any contact information the donor will willingly provide. If the form is complete, then sign as the witness. Advise the donor to complete the information blocks found on both the envelope and the swab holder card. This is critical when the kit pieces are separated later in our lab. Donors then complete their own buccal swabs. Each kit contains 2 packets of cotton tip swabs. Swabs should be removed one at a time by the stick end. With each swab, the donor scrubs between his cheek and gum for about 10 seconds, as if brushing his teeth. Use 1 swab per quadrant of the mouth. It doesn't matter which quadrant is swabbed first. Each completed swab is then placed between the foam blocks on the swab holder card. The swab should be placed in the holder with the tips facing in the same direction. The completed consent form and swab holder are then returned to the envelope, placing them so that any swabs that come loose will fall into the envelope rather than out. Fold the envelope flap over but do not seal it. Provide donor cards to remind donors to update their contact information. Completed kits should be rubber banded into groups of 5 and placed in rows in the shipping box. Your POC will return the completed kits at the end of the driver event. The kits are tissue typed at our laboratory and the donor's information is de-identified and added to the registry. Please encourage registrants to stay connected with our program. The more donors respond to text or email messages, connect with us online, or interact with us directly, the better. Thank you for your time today. Our organization can help others only because of the generosity and dedication of volunteers like you. Your work offers hope and saves lives.